y'all know who it is. I'm your host, Smoke, and you are officially tuned in to the best kept secret in sports talk. This is the hot seat. And what do we do on the hot seat? Y'all say it with me. We set somebody's ass on fire. We bringing Florida State back to the hot seat this week so we can go ahead and finish off our two-part series about the 5 most important players Florida State needs to play well in order to have a productive and successful season. Last week we focused on the defensive side of football. I counted down the 5 most important players I thought Florida State needed to stay healthy and reach their potential. And I think if those players do, the sky's the limit for their defense because there's a lot of talent on that side of the ball. The offensive side, that's a different story. Not a lot of talent over there. Well, there's not as much talent on the offensive side of the ball as it is the defensive side of football. But we're going to have a countdown no less. It's going to be a tad bit different. I explained to you all last week. This isn't a countdown about the best players on offense, right? The video last week wasn't a countdown about the best players on defense. It's about the most important players. So if you see somebody if you don't see somebody on this countdown, it's not that I just forgot them or I decided to omit them because I didn't think they were as important. I just think there were other players who were more detrimental to the success of the Florida State offense. So without any further ado, man, I know why you're here. You come for the gospel. And goddamn it, I'm going to give it to you. Class in session. So paying homage to the ghosts to my left and my right. Let's get to it, man. First player, number 5 from the West Coast, tight end Cam McDonald. So I'm going to tell you why I think Cam McDonald is one of the most important players to Florida State offense. Number one, understand this. You have a new head coach. You have a new offensive coordinator. You have a new tight end coach. You have new coaches at almost every position on offense except for wide receiver. You have a new offensive philosophy. There are new schemes to be put in place. Be mindful. Mike Norvell did not have the normal schedule as it relates to the offseason conditioning, the offseason program in which you can probably have hands-on training with these guys. You didn't have a regular fall camp. You didn't really have any type of a spring camp. All that to say this. That offense is going to sputter because it's going to still be trying to get acclimated to what Mike Norvell wants and how he wants it done, more importantly. Well, normally when you think of a tight end, you think of a safety valve for the quarterback. Nah. Cam McDonald is going to be the safety valve for the offense as a whole, and this is what I mean by that. You're going to see Florida State offense make a lot of mistakes, right? You're going to see a lot of penalties. You're going to see Florida State in a lot of 1st and 15, 2nd and 20, 2nd and 17, things of that nature, right? Well, just to make 3rd down manageable, you're going to have a guy like Cam McDonald because he has the skill set to whether you want to bring him out of the backfield, you want to flex him wide, you want to bring him in tight. He can be a mismatch nightmare if utilized properly. And if Mike Norvell is the X's and O's guy that we believe him to be, he's going to put him in those situations to where he's going to be able to maximize his skill set. He's very athletic. I just think that playing behind Trey McKitty, we weren't really able to see what he could do. Also be mindful that look what's behind him. Wyatt Rector isn't going to be pushing Cam McDonald for any type of goddamn snaps. And the loss to, Jordan Wilson, the tight end, the transfer from UCLA, that's big. Losing him was huge based on the fact that Cam McDonald isn't really known as a blocker. And if you paid any attention to Mike Norvell's offenses at Memphis, they used a lot of tight end, used a lot of 2 tight end sets, which you were going to need for the running game and more importantly because Mike, like I said, Cam McDonald isn't the esteemed blocker we would probably like him to be. He doesn't have a choice to be now. He's going to have to put up. He's going to have to step up. He's going to have to maximize his potential. He's going to have to reach the level in which we think he needs to be in order for this offense to be successful. Being that he is so versatile, being that he is so athletic, I think the sky's the limit for the kid. And I also believe that Mike Norvell is going to utilize him properly. Just think about how hard it was in the last 2 years for Florida State just to move the goddamn chains. Like, just talk about getting first downs, right? Having sustained drives. Think about how many times you saw Florida State with 3 and outs. Well, when you have a guy like Cam McDonald, he can turn a 1st and 15 to a 2nd and 7. He can turn a 2nd and 20 into a 3rd and 10. Even though 3rd and 10 isn't manageable, it's better than 3rd and 20. That's the type of guy Cam McDonald can be. That's the type of guy Florida State would need him to be. He'll need to be the safety valve for the entire offense. He'll need to be the guy that make these down and distances more manageable than what they would be had he not been available to us. All right? Moving on. I can hear y'all rumbling and grumbling now. Number 4, wide receiver, Warren Thompson. Okay, listen. Stay with me. Okay. Let's look at this, all right? Hear me out. When you look at the Florida State wide receiver room, I was waiting to do this video to see, hopefully, we could get us a depth chart. But by the time I record this, I don't have a depth chart for you all. But there's a good to decent chance Warren Thompson probably isn't going to be wide receiver 2, right? He's probably not even going to be starting. So if he's not going to be starting, why in the hell are we having a discussion about him? I'm glad you asked. Let's look at the fact that, not the fact, but from what I've read, DJ Matthews probably is no longer with the team. I believe he opted out. So there goes probably your starting slot receiver. There goes, if not one of the best route runners, the best route runner on the team. There goes somebody who, I think he's a senior this season or would have been a senior. You look at Keyshawn Helton. Also, although I think Keyshawn will be available by game 1, he's not going to be who we saw him to be last season, right? So what does that leave you with? It leaves you with a lot of question marks. A lot of young guys. And I'm not going to waste time talking about the freshmen because I'm not really going to hang my hat or have too much conversation about a true freshman because they're true freshmen. I don't really have expectations for them. So I don't even know how they're going to use Ja'Kai McDouglas. I don't know how they're going to use Ja'Kai Douglas. I don't know how they're going to use Corey Wren. Whether they're just going to be strictly out of the backfield, wide receiver, I don't know. We've heard rave things about Brian Robinson. He hurt himself. We've said this since he's got on campus. Jordan Young has all the talent in the world, but we haven't seen him put it together consistently. So how the hell did we get here? I'll tell you how. The most talented player in that wide receiver room, not named Tamorrion Terry, is Warren Thompson. I don't even think it's hard. I don't even think it's close. You look at a guy who's 6'3", over 200 pounds, who runs like a gazelle, who is very athletic, and he's a decent route runner. He's just not consistent. That's been his MO, among other things, since he got on campus, but I cast a wide umbrella over all of that. He hasn't been consistent. If he can just turn the goddamn corner, whoo, people, this offense would be clicking if we could get Warren Thompson to be consistent. He'd be Tamorrion Terry's best friend. One thing when you look at Florida State is you have inconsistent offensive line play. You have inconsistent quarterback play. Warren Thompson is somewhat of an eraser, meaning he has a very high catch radius. He's 6'3". He can jump out of the damn building, and he's strong. He's not somebody you would put. When you look at Tamorrion Terry, whoever the opposition's best cornerback, they have to go over there and cover that guy. You probably want him to mirror Tamorrion Terry because he's a game changer, right? Well, the same can be said about Warren Thompson. He has that type of talent, people. I kid you not. I'm not making this shit up. I don't have that type of imagination. He is that talented. We just need him to put it together. That's why he's on this list. What Florida State can do offensively, you're talking about an offensively challenged offense. What Florida State can do offensively, it only jumps if this guy is on the field and he's producing. If he gets the snaps, he'll show you. He's a guy that when you're talking about erasing mistakes, his catch radius means you don't have to put it on the button with him. You don't have to hit him between the numbers. He knows how to create separation by speed. He knows how to create separation with his feet by running routes. He just needs the opportunity. I think, given everything I mentioned before as it relates to the offensive room being hurt or young, that's the guy you turn to. And it seems like in these discussions all the time, Pokey Wilson is always the forgotten man. Well, Pokey Wilson missed just as much of camp as Warren Thompson did. So when you talk about being on par with what the playbook consists of, they're probably running neck and neck. Well, you're going to go with the most consistent guy in most cases, right? Historically, that's been Pokey Wilson. Well, right goddamn now, the more talented person who gives you a better win, he can make these splash plays that the offense is going to need this season. That's Warren Thompson. So that's why I have him at number 4 on this list. Please let me know if you disagree. I don't think I have to tell you all that. Y'all let me know any goddamn way. Number 3. When I started this list, he didn't make it. But for some of the reasons I just mentioned, I have to put him on here. Number 3, Tamorrion Terry. Listen, he's on this list not because of how good he is. His importance to the team now is how good they are going to need him to be. Tamorrion Terry cannot streamline. His trajectory for this offense has to be upward. If he's not better than what he was last year, this offense is in trouble. We have nobody on this team that has the skill set that he does. Although I think Warren Thompson can, again, he's probably the biggest question mark on the entire goddamn offense. Well, with Tamorrion Terry, you know what you're going to get. The thing is, we need to get better. He's a guy who can take the top off the defense. He's a guy, as a defensive coordinator, you have to game plan around. And not just game plan around, you have to know where he is on every snap, right? There's somebody who you want to shadow or mirror him, then fine, so be it. But he's a guy who's going to have to be accounted for on every snap. He's going to have to be just that goddamn good this year for Florida State. And again, the same thing that any other wide receiver on this team will be dealing with, as I mentioned with Warren Thompson, the inconsistent quarterback play they've had over the past few years, the shaky offensive line. He's a guy who's going to have to erase some of those mistakes you're going to see from Florida State. If Cam McDonald can't get us in manageable situations on third downs, hey, man, this is what you're going to be doing in the NFL. This is what you're going to be presumably getting paid the big bucks for, because he's a first-round talent. He has day one potential. He's just that damn good. That guy has a second gear that I haven't seen very often. He has a second gear to me that's reminiscent of Randy Moss. I don't know what the hell Tamorrion Terry's 40 time is, but that motherfucker can move. If you go back and look at the Sun Bowl game, once he caught the goddamn football, he took off. You don't see a guy 6'4", almost 220, 210, 220 move like that, man. He has it. He has it. He has it. He needs to be so goddamn good that even if his number isn't called for that play, the quarterback still needs to look his way at least once. He needs to be just that goddamn good in order for Florida State to get to where it needs to be. If Florida State is going to have a successful season, a lot of it hinges on what he does, because now he has all the more responsibility, because look what's around him, not just on the offense, but in the wide receiver room in particular. Look what's around him. There isn't a lot of help. There isn't a lot of experience. There isn't a lot of guys who've been out there. We can say, because Jashaun Harrison is gone. Jashaun was going to be really, really good. I wish that kid all the best. I think he has an immense amount of potential and talent. We're going to miss him. DJ Matthews not being there, like I mentioned with Warren Thompson. I don't give a shit what you think about DJ Matthews. We're going to miss him. This isn't an offense this season that can afford to not have talented players. Regardless of what you think about DJ Matthews or Jashaun Harrison, one thing they did have was talent. Probably the most talented player on the entire goddamn team is Tamorrion Terry. It's time, truly, not to say that it hasn't before, but truly, it's time where talent meets productivity with this kid. And I understand he has the big numbers as it relates to big catches and touchdowns. You need to implement everything in what a star receiver does. That's blocking. When he's engaged, he's a great blocker. Being a possession receiver, meaning when it's 3rd and 12, you need to be our go-to guy. All those things that sets him apart from the rest of the pack as it relates to wide receivers being the best in the nation, he needs to put that in play this season. We're going to need it. Ain't no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Number 2, getting through this pretty quickly, is Jashaun Corbin. He's on this list, and he's as high on this list for much of the same reason Tamorrion Terry is on this list. Kalen Laburn is gone. Give a damn what you think about Kalen Laburn. At the very least, he was another body at a position that is very physically taxing. Behind him, there's a JUCO transfer. Behind him is a true freshman. Behind him are guys who don't even know what goddamn position they play. So you're looking at Jashaun Corbin, LaDainian Webb, Lawrence Tuafili, Ja'Kai Douglas, Corey Rand. That's your running back room. That's not impressive. And I'm not saying having Kalen LeBourne there was going to make it all the more impressive, but at the very least, it's another body. Playing running back is fucking hard. And you look at how much Mike Norvell likes to use his running backs, how he likes to use them in the passing game, in the run game. He implements zone blocking scheme. Any way you can probably run the ball, Mike Norvell is fluent in that type of in that particular language. You're gonna need more than one running back to do that shit. Unless you just have a special back a la Cam Akers, you don't really want to just have one running back. You want to do running back by committee. You want to have guys who complement one another. And we haven't had probably a complementary backfield truly since Wilder and Free, with Wilder and Freeman back in 2013. Looking at his skill set, though, he's going to make up for a lot of what Florida State doesn't have in their running back room, because that guy's talented. He doesn't have elite speed, but he has speed. He doesn't have elite hands, but he has good hands. He does a lot of things well. Probably not anything great, but he does a lot of things well. But I guess you could say being versatile is elite, because his versatility is top shelf. He's a guy. He's a 3-down back. I don't think there's any dispute about that. And if I'm wrong, let me know I'm wrong. But I believe he has the potential to be a 3-down back. He can run, he can catch, he can block. And in this particular system, that's exactly what you're going to need. And it's not like he has an abundance of experience, right? He was shelved really quickly from that. He had a really bad injury. And that's another thing, guys. You don't want to run a guy into the ground who's coming off of that type of injuries. Because to me, it's kind of like a high ankle sprain during the football season. That shit never goes away. Well, when you have a severe hamstring injury for your career, I'm not going to say it doesn't go away, but it lingers. You know what I'm saying? That's the type of injury that you want to be wary of or cautious of as your career progresses. So here you are with a kid who we've never really seen him be a workhorse, but now he's going to be asked to be a workhorse, because I'm not comfortable turning the reins over in that room to a Philly and Webb if he gets hurt. Prayerfully he won't, because we're going to need him on the goddamn football field. But his importance heightens just because of the fact that there isn't a lot behind him. And then there's a lot of inexperience behind him. Like, I understand Webb is a transfer, but this big boy football. This is the ACC. This isn't Nowhere University or wherever the hell he came from. This is Florida State. And when you talk about running backs, the expectations are pretty fucking high. Florida State is spoiled in that regard. All right? So, it's enough about Jashaun Corbin. The number one most important player to the Florida State offense is the entire offensive line. That's right. Every last one of those kids, all of them. They're not just the most important group of players to the offense. They're the most important group of players to the goddamn team. There is a trickle-down effect this offense has had that most people are turning a blind eye to, because it seems as if you're making excuses for a lot of things as it relates to what has happened with Florida State over the last 3 to 4 years. I can tell you right goddamn now, at the very top of it, it may, some other things or people may share responsibility, but at the very top of it is how bad and how historically bad and putrid this offense has been. This offensive line has been. Let me put it to you like this. Let's go back to not this past summer, but the summer before that. Florida State coming off a 5-7 season. Think about this. Last season, Florida State made a bowl game. I think Florida State finished, 6-6, 6-7, some shit like that. I don't know. If Florida State has a competent offensive line, if Florida State has a decent offensive line, not a good one, okay? If Florida State has a decent offensive line, Florida State finishes 8-4 regular season with just a decent offensive line. Think about that. 8-5, 9-4 if they win the bowl game. They've been in a different bowl game, not named the Sun Bowl, whatever. They finish 8-4. People, listen to me. If Florida State finishes the regular season 8-4, Willie Taggart is still your head coach. Going into the season last season, Florida State had a top 10 recruiting class. I think maybe they finished 11th before the season started, but somewhere before the season started, they had a top 10 recruiting class. Coming off of a season in which they were 5-7, and in 6 of those losses, they got the dog shit beat out of them. He was still able to put together a top 10 recruiting class. Can you imagine how that class would have gone from being top 10, top 11 by season's end if they were 8-4 to top 7? Can you imagine the momentum they would have had going into this season? Listen, I'm not no woulda, coulda, shoulda person. I'm not a person that lives in the past. I'm telling you the trickle-down effect a bad offensive line has had on Florida State. I just laid it out for you. Let me say this shit again. If that offensive line is decent, Florida State goes 8-4. And that's all everybody was fucking saying Willie Taggart was here. Oh, if he could just win. If he could just win. If he could just win, he'd still be here. And nobody would have an issue with him because winning cures every fucking thing. I don't give a good goddamn what your perception is of him right now. If they would have went 8-4 last season and finished the regular season, you wouldn't have a problem with Willie Taggart because all you want to see is traction. All you want to see is the program trending towards the right direction. We all know what the hell he can do in recruiting. A winning program, him being able to sell, him turning around the program, plus Florida State selling itself. All right. Okay. It's fun to dream. So fast forward to now. I said when they hired Mike Norvell in whatever show that was, I said it. His tenure will largely be based on how fast he can resurrect this offensive line. If he can fix this offensive line quickly, he stays. If it takes him 2-3 years to fix it, he won't see year 3. I guarantee it. One of his calling cards when he got to Florida State was he knows how to work the transfer portal. Well, buddy, you got your goddamn work cut out for you. If he cannot fix this offensive line, I don't know what the fuck to tell you. I don't know what to tell you. And I'm going to be honest with you. I don't see it this season. They say he got a hell of a line coach. They say Coach Atkins the real deal. And whether it be teaching, whether it be recruiting, they say he's the man for the job. I don't expect him to come here and do God's work. He's human. That offensive line lacks talent. That offensive line lacks, you know what, I'm not going to say that. That'll be disrespectful. That offensive line lacks a lot. And it lacks a lot in which I don't think Coach Atkins can give them. If he can make it adequate, though, we're having a different conversation. If he can make the offensive line not so embarrassing, we're having a different conversation. That'll give them something to carry over to the next season, 2021. You're going to need it because I'm trying not to be mean, guys. I'm trying to be nice as I can, but fuck it, y'all seen the same shit I seen the last 2 goddamn seasons, man. Last 3 seasons, y'all seen the same shit I seen. That offensive line bad. And you can blame it on whatever the hell you want to blame it on, but that's a goddamn fact. That ain't even my damn opinion no more. No matter what you talking about, the eye test, what you talking about statistically, the offensive line is bad. Mike Norvell, if you're watching this, which I hope you're not, because if you find the time to watch this, we got an entirely different issue. But somebody need to tell him. His tenure will always be based on how fast he can get this offensive line fixed. There's a trickle-down effect here. If this offensive line is good, if it was good, I'm not even doing this fucking show. If the offensive line was good, Willie Taggart is still head coach. The offensive line was good, and I know y'all love recruiting, y'all love stargazing. You're talking about a top 10, top 7 recruiting class. You're talking about momentum. You're talking about people wanting to pour more money into the program because they see traction. You're talking about getting out of the dark days. If the offensive line was good, The offensive line being decent last year would have equated to wins. Winning cures everything, people. Everything. Whatever level of incompetence you think Willie Taggart had, whatever level of disorganization you think he had that led to these losses, trust me, if he wins those games by 1 point, who gives a shit? They were wins. And I'll be goddamn, I apologize about a motherfucking win. That's my list, guys. I'm sorry about the rant, but that offensive line, shit. Anyway, as always, and again, I know it sounds cliche, but I really appreciate your time. Listen, leave all the comments you want to. Like I said, we're going to have a mailbag show. Hit me up on Instagram at the Hot Seat 19. You can leave messages there in the DM. You can hit me up on Twitter at the Hot Seat 19. You get in there, man. We can have discussions. You can leave questions on there you might want me to have. Want to try to sandwich in the question show with the season preview, which is coming up here pretty shortly. I was going to do a show next week, but it's my birthday, and I'm going on tour. That's right. I'm going on fucking tour, so I may be coming to a city near you. I probably won't, but if I do, holler at me in the goddamn wish me happy birthday. But I appreciate your time, guys, as always. See y'all next time. Y'all be good. You are officially off the hot seat.